Hi, in this session, we're going to have a look at a feature of Malaysia electronic e-invoicing in MySoft. So it's actually a feature to broadcast to your customers and suppliers to request for the tax identification numbers and other information relevant to e-invoicing. So what the system will do, you broadcast the email to everyone so that you don't actually have to manually go and call them up or email them or request for a fax or other ways of getting the information. So how this is done is actually set up within the customer master. Like from the list of customers, we'll go into, let's say for this one, for example, we look at contacts, which is the tab on the top right. Okay, so the first page is where you typically have the code, address, and so on. And you add a name, contact name, and email address. And just make sure that this setting, which is called send broadcast, is set to receive email. Okay, make sure that's ticked. So if there's more than one person in the organization, you can actually broadcast to multiple persons. So let's say I add a second person. Okay, maybe call James, add an email address, and we set the send broadcast to receive email. Okay, then we save it. Okay, so this is just adapters control the other default settings. We won't fill that up first. So it's saved as a contact. So if you go and look into the customer file again, you'll be able to see that there are two contact person and two emails, for example. Okay. So for Malaysian tax identification request, typically there'll just be one person in charge, typically one email. Okay. Just for knowledge. And we go to then the add-on function here, which shows the email tab. And then there's broadcast and settings. So first you have to set up the email server, and your IT in charge of administration of email will provide these kind of details. If not, your consultant will help you to set it up. So it will send from your email, and then we can actually then set the templates to actually send out to the customers or suppliers. So if you look at the email broadcast page, okay, we have an email filter, like if you want to send from this customer to this customer, or this supplier to this supplier, and so on. Email content, that's the first thing we have to set. So what we do is we choose a template, okay? So for example, this template we choose is E-Invoice broadcast. Okay, these are custom defined templates which your consultant can create for you. So this one's called a notification for tax identification requests. So for example, you type in dear valued client, kindly find attached link to register your tax identification number to us for future use. Okay. So once a template has been set, you can also be preview the email here. Okay, so it looks something like this. Then we go back to the document selection tab on top. So we want to send to maybe all customers. You can do from to, or if you leave it blank, you just select everybody. So for example, these are the customer list, customers that will come out in the list. And then we'll just take who we want to send the email to. Okay, so if they have a valid email address, then you can actually broadcast and send. Don't forget to click this send e-invoice update info link that will send the web form to them. Okay, so once it's sent, what does it look like in the email? So I just open my mailbox. You'll get an email, something along this title of notification for tax identification request based on your broadcast template. Dear valued client, kindly find the link attached is what we put in our broadcast template. And there'll be a link here, update LHDN e-invoice information. So Malaysia Tax Authority, Lembaga Hasudan Negara, request this information for future e-invoicing, sending and receiving. So your customer supplier, they'll have to fill in the tax identification number. Okay, so I'll fill this in. ID type. So you can select either it's a company number or IC number or passport. number, for example. Okay. So like foreign suppliers, they actually have a predefined TIN numbers and ID to follow, which doesn't have to be Malaysian ID, because they don't have a Malaysian ID. So they enter their own center contact person, phone number, addresses, country. So you can select if it's not Malaysia, it's somewhere else. You can actually predefine. It's predefined here. You can select which country. Email, of course, is important. So let's say email, this corresponding email. And if everything is okay, then you click the submit button. Okay. Right. So it's prompting me for addresses. So I just put in some address information. Okay, so you submitted the form, and then what happens is when we go back to MySoft, okay, we go back to the customer view, okay, customer module. So let me just close off these windows. I go into my list of customer view, and you can see there's an update LHDN info here. Okay, so when I click this button, okay, you'll see that some responses will come back from certain persons, okay, if they fill up the form. And what we do is we click update the uh, address and e-invoice info. So you click this button. Okay, let me select somebody. Okay, for example, this guy. So it's actually filling this information here. And we can then update the address and e-invoice info to the customer file. So if I press update, then that information is updated to file. So we look at C004. Okay, we look at e-invoice settings. Okay, so you can see that this information has been updated as well as the default address and so on. Okay, so that's how we do the bulk email assisted update of all the tax identification numbers. And I believe that will help a lot in terms of comparing to doing this process manually. So this is the usefulness of the email broadcast function within MySoft. Thanks for attending the session.